This is quite a nice public park. Got a little forest here behind me, and play area for the young. Football spaces, or running around spaces, and dog walking spaces. But over there is the sort of accommodation that's a few people. On each level there you've got at least like four doors, maybe three, and that for me is like one of the unfortunate parts about the modern way, is that we're cramming people into ever smaller communes, tighter communes, not spreading ourselves over the land held by so many. There's so few. Hi, JP. And for a large proportion of the population of the earth, this is what is realistic. Because the lack of abundance has been played upon us. This park could be like filled with, as well as these beautiful oaks and all sorts of other trees, could have fruit trees in them, mature fruit trees that were productive and that people could feed from. Having said that, we were at a place recently where there was a really cool little orchard, and the apples were coming off the tree, but they didn't seem like anyone was that interested in picking them, because people have become so accustomed to buying it at the shop. So, hey, Memorial, nice to see you, Nathan. I thought I would just the car is in for an MOT, and I have to wait a few hours for the repair, because there was a little bit of repair that was required, and so I'm getting that done. So I had a little bit of time to spare, and away from the fam, so I thought I'd just do a quick live and see if anyone was about, and if anyone had any thoughts about the world, about the journey. I feel like the game here has curated a little bit like the story. I don't know the story that well, but the story of the guy who, in search of the rings, he goes in search of the rings, Frodo or something like that. Lord of the Rings, that's it. Lord of the Rings, and where the people in the guy who's the sort of main character, this little character, he lives in a little kind of hobgoblin hamlet, and everybody goes about their business quietly and happily, and there's never any not too much fuss, and then he goes on this epic adventure, and he comes back changed, and he's grown, I guess. I mean, I don't know the story well enough to kind of talk about how it all ends up and what the bigger message is. You got a day of gardening, JP? I miss days of gardening. Well, I miss days of being like physically active, and having recently had a spate of physical activity, I feel more keenly the loss thereof. And again, one can become in a short space of weeks and months. One can become softened and comfortable, perhaps, or readjust to a new level of active output. But I don't think it's a progressive step. So, Nathan and Penny, how are you guys? Grand risings. Some people walked past me just now and they said good morning, and I said, "Oh, who who died?" "Oh, it's a good morning," he said. Okay, I'm not good at. Oh, that's a big dog. That's not that big, actually. So, Speaker's Corner was pretty epic on Sunday, guys. And if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it all, then fair enough. It's 5 hours plus another hour and a half from the first session. But in the second session, I'd had some great conversations. I can't really remember them, the whole day, but I had some great conversations. But I do know that at 3 hours and 10 minutes into the second video, I saw Piers Corbyn, and for some reason felt motivated to scold him for his complicity, unwitting, albeit complicity, in supporting, a key plank. It's a bit like saying, oh, the CV19 Jabbage was bad, but, keep taking all the others. Or like RFK is doing. Like, oh, well, what if we just come up with one super duper one? You only have to take the one, and it's not all the other stuff. But it'll be RNA. Don't worry about that. But I felt like, for some reason, motivated to go loud, and that brought a crowd of people around. Actually, it set something off that lasted about 20 minutes, I suppose. I don't know. Where I had quite a big group, and there was heckling, and it was pretty intense. And it certainly raised sort of emotions of people. I think it kind of got carried away from, the basis of who we are and the grand deception against us, because people are so by then outraged that I'm saying that they don't live on a globe. And these young boys, one of them asked me for a flyer, and he ripped it in quarters in front of my face in an attempt to demonstrate how ridiculous this is, or I suppose I am. They were trying to belittle me. But it was really powerful. It was really amazing, and I felt so strong. Felt so strong that I'm going to take my shirt off. I'm just going to take my shirt off and go, because it's fucking, and I'm all in. I ripped my shirt off and I just carried on, blah blah blah. So it was good. But I also had some lovely conversations as well with people, including 2 Welshmen farmers. Lots in common, although very new territory with the flat earth. So, yeah, that was Sunday, and I've got one more Sunday left here in London. So, weather permitting, I will be there on Sunday. And I hope to see some of you there, and I thank you for your support. I actually didn't generate any donations on Sunday, despite it being, in my opinion, one of the best days of activism, and where so many people heard my voice. So that was a surprise. No foul, people have been amazingly supportive, and I'm so grateful for that. It is what it is. Uh, but yeah, Sunday, and then Friday, we will have the gathering with Andrea back, and tomorrow, and and then Monday week, 25th, I'll be talking at the Hope Festival. So will Andrea, and then we're only 3 weeks away from Alex Michael's uh, Guru's gathering, and that should be a blast, and I'll try and get some footage from that, and then we'll see where we go. I am planning something very exciting, but I'll keep that under my hat for now. Oh yeah, over at the allotment, odd jobs. It's nice. I did a little odd job for a guy the other day. Helped him get his garden going. It was a bit overrun, so that was fun. So that was last week, so I did do some physical work, and again, I actually felt the resistance of stiffness, or the lack of physical prowess, if you like, that I developed in those 2 months recently. Well, it was probably 3 and a bit if you count the place sort of just before there, where I'd done 60-70 hours of work. So altogether, all told, it ends up being really good for the physical well-being, and so it's good to do it, even if it's unpaid. Couldn't read the white writing. Oh, 33. How's it going? Oh, well, I guess my plan to go to South Africa, that was the thing that I was keeping under my hat a minute ago, because I think I must have mentioned it to you, that we plan to be in South Africa in October. The finer details are yet to be finalized. So we'll see about that. But anyway, I mean, the world is, continuing to do its thing, the game continues to be played out. But honestly, I don't feel at home in this world like this. Living like this is not right. It is, in my view, more close living than some of the animals that we say have got inhumane living conditions. Living right on top of each other, I do not think is actually how it was meant to be. I do not think that. I think that, and population numbers and so on and so forth, but it's not that. It's that, the game controller has arrived to the land and discovered that the cattle are feeding far and wide, all sorts of nooks and crannies, and they're all taking care of themselves, and that's not going to power the city. They need the electricity, the charge, the energy of the young and old to operate these things. And, in a way, I don't want to be a troglodyte and say, oh, well, if you'd left us all in the field, we wouldn't have mobile phones. And technology wouldn't be moving as it is. And therefore, we'd be sort of still, maybe I'm missing the point of free energy and how we did communicate once upon a time, and how we had the knowledge handed down orally. But it is what it is. The world is what it is, and we need the systems. Well, the systems that have been created to manage the farm as it is must be maintained. You can't have a mega farm and then say, well, let's just shut off the supply chains that provide all the things that this farm needs to, you know, keep the cattle healthy. Like I said to Andrea yesterday, you can't even, even if you were RFK and you in your heart knew that all the needle programs have actually caused more trouble than not. And it's other environmental factors, yes. However, you try telling that to the majority of people. It's because of the way that everybody's been programmed to think about these things. It's actually heresy to say polio, the needlecraft, in any way being anything but savior. It's heresy. A large proportion of the farm would be up in arms and say, no, I insist that my newborn calf get polio vaccine. So we fed folks from the garden. They were healthy. Feed them from supermarkets in the majority. Something I noticed about the average American male aged 50. Many exceptions, of course, many that maintain a healthy temple. But American guys tend to get puffy. There's lots of fat guys here in England, don't get me wrong. Very fat. But the American guys, they look sort of proportional. They're not, they're not necessarily like, but their whole body, head, shoulders, arms, legs, and all of it gets puffy, and it's more swollen. I see it in the police, and I think because there's so much processed food in them, or has been, they were ahead of the game when it came to processing food, the Americans, and so even children of the 70s, they grew up with processed food, whereas with us it was far less available, even though my mother's preference was to cook at home, or home, from scratch. But when I went to America in '88, I was so surprised by how much, or impressed by how much was available in a packet, pre-made and So yeah, there's no doubt that causes a certain swelling, or for me anyway, the food that we eat and how it's being processed. Everything is light. Everything is vibration. But just like with the music, the more you alter the vibration, the more it can be in disharmony with self, what is good for self. So, yeah, portion sizes, that's a fair point. They do like the big portion sizes, and of course there's times when I'm hungry and I'm grateful for a big portion size, but it can become a habitual that the plate ends up being twice the size it should be. But because the body is so adaptable, it, 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 that becomes what it feels it needs. We see that in all sorts of ways, with chocolate or a particular food stuff. I'm trying to stay away from carbs at the moment. I'm not like 100% strict on it, and probably would do me well to do that. I've even been considering like a 3-day water fast. It really needs the right situation for me to pull that off, and yeah, I'm sure some people have done it, but I know people have done it and gone longer. But I read something today about, that reminded me of stuff I'd forgotten. You research things and so many things, and things slip off the radar. About, Christ dying at 33. 33 being the number of vertebrae. And then when we established a few years ago that the chrism, or the cerebral spinal fluid, is active only up until the last 5 fused vertebrae, which make up the tailbone into the coccyx, which when you look at it under a magnifying glass looks like a little devil or a little Baphomet. And this area, these last 5 fused bones, are the darkness, because there is no Christ light there. There is no CSF in the final 5. And so Christ dying for 3 days and then rising again is, some suggest, symbolized by this, going into the cave, not eating, not drinking even, for 3 days, and then coming out resurrected, revitalized, refreshed, renewed, because your body systems have had absolute rest from all stimuli. Think how just even noise pollution can be a stimuli that creates a tension inside of you that over time manifests into something the chemo doctors want to talk to you about. So that's an interesting one. I'm still fascinated by the idea of CSF being the light bearer, and the idea that, which Santos Bonacci taught me about, the pineal being like a light bulb that you can illuminate 1,000-fold by imbuing it with your CSF. It carries, we believe, this DMT, the dimethyltryptamine. But it's one of the reasons why men should avoid over spilling the seed, because I believe part of the load is drawn from CSF. It's not to say these things, like the oil in the earth, cannot be replenished. We can burn the candle at both ends and exhaust the fuel, the light, more quickly, reducing our vitality more rapidly, and then maybe even foreshortening the time when one must return. This is the temple of God. You, this macro. Wow, I think we can accept aging as a natural part of this realm. We see it in the trees. We see it in pretty much all of nature around us. So that's good. That's okay. But yeah, it does seem like there was been an agenda all along to usurp that vitality, limit the light, curtail the conscious evolution. Evolution is a real thing, but it has been stolen. It has been stolen. It's great to get to a grey age, a ripe age, and a full age. It's to be honoured, revered, um, upheld, and protected. But I would rather that these people had a better chance of being given the truth about who we are, what we are. Now, the water of a duck's back. Maybe they simply pass on, and then the young will come through. You wonder why they go to such lengths to silence. I'm just posing the question, why they go to such lengths to silence the truth. We know obviously they invested a lot in creating the lie. So it's a natural byproduct of creating a lie is you now have to engineer people's understanding and knowledge and access to information such that you can maintain the lie. So and they've been maintaining the lie for 1,000 years or more. And one day maybe all of mankind works it out. But that day isn't yet. Not for a long time, I don't think. I don't have to be glum about that. Like you go to a zoo and that animal would have had a very different life had they not been born in captivity. However, it comes to a point where it's what they know, and they're used to that. We've met dogs, for example, that are living in a particular situation where other dogs would not be happy, and vice versa. But they know it's what they know. That's all they know. So, thanks for the thumbs up. And that comes to your family as well. Friends and family. It's like, whew, guys, it's a zoo, and we've been trapped here. I love you, but I can't stay in the zoo. I found a way out, or I'm seeking a way out. I'm going to Shawshank Redemption my way out of this place. The sun has come out now, and so have the people. Um, yeah. Yeah. Back to the energy. Yeah. In the sacrum. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, bros, I had a few new subscribers in the last week, which is, like the only time the clock has moved in months on that sub counter. And it's interesting because I did open a TikTok account some months ago. I don't know when, maybe a year ago, I don't know. And I barely paid any attention. I don't kind of connect to the platform or anything like that, and it's getting way more subscriber activity. It's like every day I'm getting 5-10 new subscribers on it or something, or maybe not 5 or 10, but it's it's a number, and 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 of course when it's one a month on YouTube or whatever. So what the heck? Granted, like, and I put so little on the TikTok, and I had so little interest in it. But what it also does is TikTok, man. Let me tell you, I posted flyers on TikTok saying, pardon me, saying that I was going to be in Speaker's Corner 3 weeks. And somebody, it might have been Macabre Life, but somebody reposted it. And they obviously have on their back hundreds of globe religionists. And so all of a sudden my inbox is just flooded with people going, people are going to come from all around the globe. Why don't they just get together and go and fall off the edge? And will they even be able to find their way there? And all 50 of the flat earthers will be there. Of course, they don't realize that not a single bloody flat earther has turned up to, in 2 weeks. Not certainly not. I've seen 1 or 2 people that are, but they didn't know who I was, and that I was gonna. It was more just happenstance that there are people in the crowd, increasingly. But for a lot of them, I think for a lot of people, and this is no disrespect, but for a lot of people, they are aware it's a zoo, a prison. And they're going to do their little bit, in the laundry room or whatever, to be a little bit of a fly in the ointment and so on. I think that, but to actually say, I'm gonna dig a hole, I'm gonna get out of here, and it's gonna be uncomfortable, but I'm gonna do it. I don't know why it is some feel called and some don't. It's the same with this truth journey. Some are called and some are not. But whatever the reason, if I'm to follow my heart, then I'm to find my way out of the zoo. Always willing to throw a rope over the fence for a friend who wants to climb his way out, her way out. But it is Shawshank. It is like one man must get out at a time kind of thing, on his own pipe. because it's seductive. This world, um, manicured this and you know, walking the dog. I want my dog to be working the land with me, and his walk or her walk is our work. I'm prepared to, you know, have very little time for like research and other than it's specific to a topic. So I'd rather be doing the work, guys. I'd rather be working on the land, working on my stillness, my zen. And then again, it's not to say to stay in the cave and away from it, because we must be in the world. So I don't think I'm seeking that kind of like, an hour from any kind of civilization type of thing. And that I don't need to be a hermit. I need to be a teacher. This is a thermos. It has two skins, doesn't it? In between those skins is like a partial vacuum. And it's because of that vacuum that the temperature, the heat doesn't transfer from one to the other. But according to them, that sun, which seems to be surrounded by blue sky, is actually 90 million miles and all sorts of 90 million miles of frozen vacuum. And then because things hit the bits and pieces, hit the atmosphere, it reforms itself as a round of hot heat. Which, before I go, I was talking to Boston Ray, because he asked me about something I said in a video the other day about the sun as a light bulb. And because I'd got to thinking about how perhaps when we first designed the light bulb, we were reverse engineering this whole thing, which is the point that we call the sun, but the glass dome and the gas, particularly the gas in the upper atmosphere. It needs to be a certain kind of gas, so we know that from neon lights, for example. And doesn't that just, with a charge in a gas cylinder, just give you these colors, and some of these colors we see with the sunset and stuff like that. When I'm talking about it, it does remind me of Antonio Subarat's talking about it a lot back in the day. And he did quite a good kind of demonstration of how, the different lighting with different frequencies can be with freon or neon or whatever. I'm not an expert on that stuff, but it can create that. So if, as I've suggested, what's happening is a thread or a wave crest is rising, and up in that space is occurring in the upper atmosphere. It's creating the source, which is then projected maybe off the roof, but into a third party position, which is this position here, which is, I know if you went outside now, you're not going to see what I'm seeing. It's going to be different sky, different, no clouds, some clouds, more cloud, But for me, that sun is like the crepuscular rays show us. That sun's close to me, um, and it feels damn hot right now. In fact, I'm going to take my sweatshirt off. I ran out of the house early this morning and didn't realize that I'd not put a t-shirt on. It was just a sweatshirt I'd grabbed to stave off the early morning chill. The dog woke me at 3 a.m. and I may have nodded off again on the sofa, but not for long. 1 sec. Like I said earlier, ripping my shirt off on Sunday was an act of theatrics. I was like on such a buzz, which is why at the end of it I said, "Are you not entertained?" I was absolutely loving it. If I may say, possibly, aside from maybe one or two great moments in South Africa, it was probably the pinnacle of my kind of street, you know, town crier type thing. It was probably the pinnacle of that since those days in 2018. So if you liked activism, go back and have a watch. If you have the time. And as I said, it's 3 hours 10 on the second video of the day. And there'll be more to come this Sunday. And of course, we gather on Friday. Yeah. Is there any other thing? Hey, squirrel. Nice to see you. We've got that thing coming up next weekend, mate. Hope Sussex. Please let me know if you want me to put your name on the list there. They are struggling a little bit with ticket sales, so it would be great to be able to throw them a little bone. But people coming and spending a little bit of money will help their coffers anyway. Yeah, so that's that. Oh, we have to chat, please, Dave. Well, would you email me? And then we can go from there. I can give you my thing. Could always do a Zoom, I guess. My email is trinityforman@gmail.com. It is actually, I think all my contact stuff is on the header of this page, my account. So, the gases that illuminate our skies, yeah. Well, the gases need a charge, as the neon tube does. And so it's that L, that spark, that masculine, that's washing through here, whichever way it works, going around or across or whatever. There's a wave washing across us. It has a peak in the north during Cancer, when it's in Cancer, and has a peak in the south, Capricorn, in our winter up here in the north. And so it turns across the plane or goes over the plane and creates the effect. There's the preamble to the sun, as we know, that the sunlight itself is not responsible for all the illumination of the blueness. That's a separate force or a separate effect. Yeah. So that's so Boston Ray was saying he'd like to know more about that, and I guess I've just thought about the idea. I'd need to go and do a little bit of more research on the light bulb itself. It just seems to me like there's a correlation there. Starting to scratch the sky. Yeah. Hey Ryan, nice to see you, bro. You should make a short of it. Okay, Ryan, maybe I should and do some actual, diligent research. Yeah, Grand Rising. It's a zoo or a jungle, you decide. Well, well, okay. I'm not even going to disagree with that because it's also it's that um, the zoo obviously has like it's more it's more prison like because it's um, it's more organized. This is what maybe the UK is a little bit more like the zoo. And one might say South Africa might be closer in some ways towards the jungle kind of way, where it's a little bit more street thuggery. Um, Obviously, I know that there's all the organs of state, which is what the empire did before it. It goes in there, puts its systems in place, and then retracts, leaving willing adherence to the model. That's why they like to educate the locals with, we'll give them some bursaries, a few of them to our highest education learning, and then they will become the next iteration, the wolf in sheep's clothing. So yeah, maybe South Africa's more certainly got more jungle flavor. But you remember George Bush saying, he was the older George Bush, saying that I think United Nations, saying that we have a unique opportunity here. Something about 1,000 points of light, and do we want to live by the law of the jungle or by the law of man? I think I'm not sure exactly. It's been a while since I heard it. And basically he was spelling out, and this, it's one of those, why I know it is because it's one of those clips that in which he says, this is the time for a new world order. And this world order, so we don't have the rule by the jungle, we have the rule with the thing. And they've always characterized those African kind of, civilizations prior, pre the empire, as being, like the jungle and so on. When we know that actually, oh guys, the car is ready. So sorry to lose you there. Oh, hi Barbara and Cameron. Jehovah's daughter, nice to see you. Yeah, I know the shirt ripping off was brilliant, epic. It's at probably about 3 hours 20, 3 hours 30. I don't know, but I can't go back and watch myself. It's really hard, but it is a bit of a high point. And even though some people were smirking and laughing and even trying to belittle me, a lot of people heard it breaks algorithms getting out there, and people heard it, and people were taking my flight. I remember now that I think about it. But at one point I was like, "Oh, I'll take some flight," and people, some hands were coming out to me, take a flight. So, and just like the Welshmen, the farmers who are mainly clipped in the first video of the day, they really, I think will seriously give this another look. Oh, and another woman. There was this woman. She was like so. We were she was like so anti-flat earth, right? And she was so I think when she came in a bit abrasive. And then, I started touching on a few things that she was like, oh, wow. Yeah, you know this. Yeah, you know this. Oh, wow, you know that too. She's like, wow, we've got so much common ground. Now I'm going to maybe go and look at the flat earth thing again, So I'm super chuffed with all of that and the way it went. So as of ever, grateful for your support, and I will say here I am walking through this very pretty little forest. I think it's quite a fitting way for rest, eh? We need to really allow time for that. These are energetically, according to Andrea, and the way some people are feeling, energetically some opportunistic times. They times that present certain repeating patterns, which may be coming up for refresh or redress, renewal, reconsideration. I mean, really, if we really achieve this insight of our divinity, if we really achieve it, if we really embody it, we really walk in the light of Jesus, or in the light of the light that we carry, the spark of some magnificence. If we do this, if we move towards this, not to create too high a hill that, we're not meant to necessarily need to climb, but if we can achieve this, upgrade, evolution. And there's no telling how high up the tree of life we may ascend. Whoa! Just dropped me water. I've been slowly unscrewing this without realizing it. Swinging it around with gay abandon. Fortunately, I didn't lose all of it. So I just want to say goodbye and thank you, and I appreciate your support, all of it. Yeah, I've just, when I was one place recently, they someone at night scratched the car, and I just got a quote. They put a key all the way down the length of it, and in order to pull off my mission to South Africa, I have to sell the car. So if anyone knows a car sale, someone who's in the business of buying older cars, this one's in good nick. I've just, as you remember, I had to replace the bloody cam belt last year, and some other thing, $2,500. So anyway, I want to sell it, but the scratch will be unsightly for someone. I've kind of come to terms with it. It doesn't bother me so much. I mean, I notice it, but I don't let it bother me. So if you know anyone who would buy a car like that in the next month, that would be cool. Let me know. And if you want to chip in a coffee towards the cost of this 200 quid paint repair job, that would be cool. But in the meantime, I wish you an awesome day, guys. A really spectacular day. This is our life. This is our experience. This is we can grumble and rumble and so on and so forth, at various elements, whether it be the government's medicines and the education and the wars and the horrors, and there's something special that's going on here, and it is your evolution. So don't lose sight of that. Yeah? Don't lose sight of why you're here. I have to dig deep into that sense of that. As I also seek to find my pipeline out of Shawshank. Go well.